Hello, friends. And welcome to the last week of Escape the Readathon reading vlog. I am so excited you're here because I wasn't going to do a vlog and I was like, yeah, it's the last week, I'll just talk about everything in my wrap up, but I am like really pushing hard this last week and I haven't vlogged in 3 days and I've read a ton of books in those 3 days. But I just have to talk about these two books. This is why I pretty much wanted to do this vlog because I feel like I'm gonna lose it. I feel like I'm gonna lose what I have to say about this, and I've been kind of talking it through with myself in my head, so I'm gonna try to say it through my mouth. The books I'm talking about that I binge read the past 2 days. I've read Still House Lake by Rachel Crane and Kill Man Creek, the sequel. This is part of a really long series. I don't know if I'm going to continue on the series because these two just hit so great together. If you do read Still House Lake, I do recommend reading the second one because they tie it all together. They go together. But this is a serial killer thriller, which is a really fun thing to say. Well, it's based off of the Jeffrey Bruto, the shoe fetish killer. His wife was tried as an accessory and stuff and she found not guilty, but it's this main character Gwen is based off of, I guess, his wife and BTK in a way, but it's not in a gross way or anything. Basically she's tried, Gwen in the book, and she's found not guilty, but now she's on the run, and it's new murders happening and all this stuff around her, and she can't outrun these people that think she's guilty. It's very intense and it's a very addictive read. You won't want to stop listening because you're okay, I gotta, and you're in with Gwen in the first book and then you get multiple POVs in the second book. I'm talking too fast. And you really like Gwen a lot. She's a bit intense. She's very jaded, but she's a mom, you know? She's doing it for her kids. So you feel for her. She's a very empathetic character. And what happened in this book, it got me thinking because I finished them and I was yeah, I really enjoyed them. But honestly, what happens in this is so subtle and it took me a second to get it. So usually with a Karen Slaughter, a Tammy Hogue, for example, they typically write procedural serial killer stuff. And there's probably some others that I've read before, Patricia Cornwell and stuff like that. I feel there is a point by point thing you do in these, right? You have a twist, you have a reveal, all that stuff. Does this do this? Yes, it does do that. But what happens in this is so smart, and I just have to clap to the author. There's a feminist thing that happens in this. I was not expecting it because you don't really get that around these type of thrillers. So basically Gwen was blamed, right? Or blamed, not believed, typical how we treat women in today's culture, right? And it happens over and over again in these books. And I was what is happen? Is this the Grady Hendrix thing? Is this the underdog situation happening with the main character? No, I think what this author is saying is not only did this serial killer hate women, it's our society hates women. And I've said that a ton and before, especially with The Last Housewife. It's that is another book that is very strong messaging just about our overall society and how we treat women. And this though does it it's buried. I feel like it's buried in the plot of what ends up happening, because Gwen is again over and over again not believed. She is blamed pretty much for what her husband did. What? And he also was super controlling and still has he wants to still control her. and everybody around her wants to control her as well in a way. Even her kids do as society does. And that's a really frustrating part in these two books, but it's also like, oh yeah, that does happen. You know, like it's very honest. So I would say yes, it has melodrama in it, it has action in it, and it has all those other things that serial killer thrillers does, but it also is pretty smart, and it's clever, and it's subtle, and it was really interesting. And it's also brutal and gory and scary. So 5 stars to both of these books. I binge listened to them on Kindle Unlimited. The audio is with them. So yeah, I just had to like get that out, I guess, in a vlog. So I guess I'm doing a vlog now for this week. But other books that I ended up reading this week, speaking of some feminism, I read Cackle by Rachel Harrison, and I absolutely loved it. 5 stars, not scary unless you think the spider is scary in this. I ended up thinking the spider was very cute in this anyways. He has a little hat, and I just imagined like a cartoon spider. It was so cute. And then I read The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. This is like a midsummer camp story. And yeah, it was fun. It was like a bit too dreamlike in parts, but I totally get it. I mean, look at the cover. It's like I'm a dream, and it's like textured too. I did borrow this, as you can tell, but I really liked it. It's like a bit of grief horror in it as well, and I liked the culty vibes in it. The ending was a bit predictable, so I think I'm leaning towards like a 3.5. I'll round up to 4 on Goodreads. And then I've been reading Harrow County. I'm on volume 3. I should finish this. I will finish this like after dinner tonight. And I freaking am loving this series too. I'm just loving everything I've been reading this week. It's been great. This is about a witch that was hanged, and this is her at the beginning, but she comes back in a form of another girl who was born like right after they got rid of her. And so they think when she comes of age, which is 18 years later, that she's going to come into her power and she's going to be as evil as this witch. But she's not. She's really cool. And she's like, you guys are not going to like fuck with me, okay? This is great. It's like a Southern Gothic tale. I feel like there's lots of monsters in this. And I don't want to say folklore because I don't know a lot of like Southern folklore, I guess, but yeah, the art is fantastic. Also, I'm kind of, the further you go in this too, you're like, was she really that evil though? It's like, I don't know, was she? I don't know. And I think that's what the point of it is like to question like villains and like their motives and stuff. But yeah, the art is fantastic. It's like really fun, easy. Get those books in so we can get onto the room, you know, that sort of thing. And then I will be starting Reluctant Mortals tonight. I just picked this up at the library on a hold. I got a hold, and oh my gosh, it's just gorgeous. And I was like, the audio, I have the audio on Scrammed. I'm gonna start it. And I'm on Sav's channel tonight in like an hour or so for sprints, and I have to eat dinner, but I'll check in later. Okay, so it is the next day. It is almost 7 o'clock. I'm about to hop on Andrew's sprints for Escape the Readathon. I've only read 2 books today. Who am I now? I finished Reluctant Immortals by Gwendolyn Kist, and I did really like this. I did enjoy it. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. It just I wasn't entirely sure with everybody's motives. I wasn't entirely sure of like what Lucy wanted or Bertha wanted necessarily, and I wasn't sure why Dracula and Mr. Rochester like were so like obsessed. I don't know. It was weird, all of the motives, and I feel like they jumped around a bit. Like they were in San Francisco one second, and then they're back in LA, and then it just felt kind of all over the place. But overall, the atmosphere was still great with them even moving around. The height in the 70s, very cool atmosphere there. And you don't have to be familiar with Jane Eyre or Dracula, really. You just kind of have to know, I guess, the Spark Notes version of it, right? Of the loose version of what happened. Also, I was kind of confused too, because Lucy in this dies a bunch, and she talks about like dying over and over again. Like she's been staked, she's died many ways as a vampire. And I'm like, didn't she die in the Dracula book? Like she just got, you know, like her head, no, they chopped her head off. Spoilers for Dracula if you haven't read it. But yeah, they don't explain like how she came back from that, because it never talks about her. Like nothing like that ever happened. Like she's always just staked and then she goes into like another place. It was weird. It was kind of trippy. But yeah, I'm thinking 4 stars. I really liked it. I did tab only one spot. But there's a lot of great quotes and stuff in this, and the writing is excellent. So I highly suggest, if you are a fan of Dracula or Jane Eyre, this is kind of like a fun twist on those books. And then I listened to Deep and Dark by Wendy Dalrymple. This is a very short novella. It's 80 pages, and it's about a park ranger that works in Florida. I think this is part of the Florida Gothic series that Wendy Dalrymple does or has, and this is about a park ranger who works like it's like a cave system park, and they find a body there, and it's like a ritualistic killing, and these FBI agents come down, and of course she falls in love with the FBI agents. This is very romance heavy. If it is part of the Gothic series, I think this is the most romantic one, and I know this author writes a lot of romance books. They're all over script. I keep actually getting recommended the romance books because I read her horror books. So I would say like 30% of this 80-page novella was the romance side of it, so you guys know I probably didn't like that. But it's like a cult book. It was very, very short. Listen, if you guys are looking for something short to get out of a slump or something, I suggest it. But I think I'm leaning towards 3-star for it. And then tonight on Sprint, I was going to show you the picture, but I can just put it here. I'm going to be reading, actually I need to know the author's name, The Nothing That Is by Kyle Winkler. I was going to start this last night because I saw Amy was starting it, and I know Kelsey read it and really liked it, and recommended it to me, and I was like, I'm going to start that last night, and then I didn't. I just read this last night in the Sprint. So I think I'm going to start this one. It's a short cosmic horror novella, and it's supposed to be very weird. So yeah, I'm excited for that. But that is like the only plans that I have. I'm very much like mood reading. I think we're up to like 400 books where we're at right now. By the time this comes out, it will be over. So I can tell you guys, we were so drunk as partiers. We fell through the floor, and we've been in the basement for like 4 days or something now. It's dire situation, and we read 400 books, and we just need to get out of this freaking house to get more booze, you know, typical partiers. But I will check in later. Okay, so I'm just holding the camera right now, so hopefully it's not too shaky, but I just wanted to check in. It's like 8 o'clock, and I've only been on sprints for 2 hours, and I just finally went on the Discord, and we made it to the door, finally in the basement. So I'm actually switching what I'm reading right now. I'm switching to Death Note because the prompt is to read a book that is the first letter in the title that also matches the last book you read author's last name. So Dalrymple, Death Note, and I can knock out 3 of these tonight. We're gonna unlock the door. Yay! Okay, so it is like 8 o'clock the next day, and from my frantic last check-in, I did have to pivot and change what I was reading, and I picked up Death Note Volume 1, and this was okay. It was a bit boring. It was a lot of conversation. If you don't know the premise of this, it's about a notebook where you write somebody's name in it and they die, and the main character in this uses it to kill bad guys. But it was a lot of talking. It wasn't very actiony at all, so I think I'm leaning towards like a 3-star for it. And from this, I decided to do the second prompt, which is the rainbow prompt, I believe. And you the main color on the cover on a rainbow, and then you go backwards, so violet or indigo, I guess, a little bit here in the middle, or mostly here in the middle, go backwards to indigo or blue. And for that, I decided to do a middle grade arc that I have. It Found Us by Lindsay Curry. Yes, Lindsay Curry. As you can see, it has a lot of blue in it. I don't know where I'm going to put it. Anywhere here. This is a spooky middle grade about a haunted graveyard, I guess, but it's really about a train accident, and it's actually based off of a real train accident. After I read the author's note, I just finished it, so I think I'm leaning towards a 4-star. It didn't really blow me away or anything with any spooky scenes, but I did like that it was based off of a true story, and there was some creepy moments. It was mostly a mystery though. And so going from here, I'm going back to the first prompt, the author prompt. So the first letter in the last name of the last book you read, letter for your next read is in the title. So C. And for that, I'm doing Church, which is a Rewind or Die novella. It's only 75 pages, and I think this is like a cult book. And yeah, so I made that work. I was kind of stressing out. Today I was on Sprints with Michelle, and I was kind of freaking out, but she recommended, well, this is what she did. She went through all of the KUs, all of the Rewind or Die on KU, just to see if anything would match the prompts, because our prompts are really hard right now. So that helped me a lot, and fixed this problem. Where I'm going from here though, I have no idea, and I'm gonna be really busy tomorrow, so who knows. I'll probably read this one and just try to figure it out on Sunday. So wish me luck. Okay, so it's been a day since I last checked in. I spent all day yesterday with the fam. It was super fun. Lots of jumping on the trampoline and eating a bunch of food. But anyways, I didn't get any B-roll there. It was very chaotic. But this morning I did finish listening to The Haunting of Hill House, and this is a reread for me. I haven't read it since the show came out, I think, though. And I took away a little bit more just relating it to the show, because this, I think, relates a lot more than you think. First off, or than I thought, because I was like, oh, it's so different. It is very, very different, but it's only different at a surface level. I feel like all the subtle stuff, and it being about the 5 stages of grief and everything, I feel like that's done because Eleanor is technically grieving still, right? She's grieving her mother. She's grieving like a life that she hasn't really lived, because she's been kind of sheltered and like stuck with this burden of taking care of her mother like her whole life, for the most part. So yeah, that's just really interesting to think about, and also like how they acted, how Luke, Theodore, and Eleanor acted in the house when they first get there. It's very like magical and whimsical, and they're acting like little kids. And in the show, there's half of that show is them as little kids, and I thought that was really interesting. And then there's like some other stuff too that I haven't quite worked out yet in my head. This book is so good because I think now, this is my second time rereading it, I've gotten way more out of it than I did the first time. First time I wasn't a huge Eleanor fan, and this I'm like, oh my gosh, poor Eleanor. I really felt for her, and the first time I read it, I was like, Eleanor, stop. Like, just stop trying so hard, you know? And in this, there's that cringiness and secondhand embarrassment that I was feeling, and I was like feeling so bad for her. I don't know, it was like a lot of emotions when I felt for this reread. But I'm definitely gonna rate it 5 stars. I think I rated it 5 stars the first time. I mean, this book is a classic. It still has scary moments in it, scary and intense moments, and it's just so interesting what Shirley Jackson does in this. And it's very short. It's much shorter than I thought it was. It's like a 6-hour audiobook. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then I finished Church. I don't know where I'm gonna put it. I guess I'll put it here. I'm still in my unhaul zone here. I'm all hunched over. So I felt like this is not my favorite, definitely not my favorite Rewind or Die. This is a bit brutal. I feel like it's really brutal, and it's serious. And it has a bit of erotic stuff in it, so I guess it fits first month this weekend. But yeah, definitely not my favorite. I think I'm leaning towards a 2-star for it. But what I was doing, I finished this, so it's orange, and then this is red, so the rainbow prompt, and then also the author prompt, because I can do that technically, I think, with this one. Maybe that was my original plan. If not, I can just do it both for rainbow. And then I was going to do another rainbow prompt. I was just going to do a reread of The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. I love this book. I gave this book 5 stars. It's only 65 pages. It's very short. It's kind of a joke book. It's a I'm laughing already thinking about it. It is like a homage to Turn of the Screw by Henry James, but it's definitely just a joke. Like, it is hilarious. The first line of it is so great. It's like something about hand jobs. I can't remember it, but it makes me laugh every time I think about it. And yeah, it's just a great book. And I know Gillian Flynn, I think she wrote this as a freaking joke, and it's like, it's fantastic. She wrote it as a joke to George R.R. Martin, who said she couldn't write a haunted house book, and she was like, here you go. And it's kind of fun to see an author that typically writes super dark and depressing thrillers write like a joke book. So I really enjoy this book. I'm gonna listen to it. I got it from Libby, and I'm gonna listen to it when I go to the bookstore, because I just did my unhaul, and now I'm like, I can go to the bookstore. It's a good day. I will try to get some B-roll at this used bookstore, because it's kind of crazy. It's kind of a crazy place. If it's still open, I don't even know if it's still open, because it's been months since I've been there. I haven't been there since the beginning of the year, so we shall see. I'm hoping it's still open, and I will check in later. I'm gonna be honest though with you guys, I don't think I'm gonna get any more reading done. I think I'm gonna reread The Grown Up, and then I think that's gonna be it, because I'm feeling a bit burnt out, and also I don't really want to think about these prompts anymore. And I'm feeling burnt out, and I want to be on my best reading starting June 1st for the Kelsey Slasher Readathon. So I'm not really feeling like reading anything right now. I have read like 40 books this month, which is pretty much double what I usually read. So I'm not feeling it. So that might be the last book, but I will definitely check in after. such a great part. Okay, so it is only a couple hours later. It's almost 2 o'clock. I don't know how many hours. I guess 3 hours later. And I went to that used bookstore and I finished The Grown Up. So I killed it in those 3 hours. I went there and not only were they still open, they actually were more organized. For the most part, I mean, horror is still mixed in with the sci-fi and fantasy there. So it took a little bit, but I did find some good stuff. But the prize, I think, the prize possession, I guess, the best find I found there is probably, there was Ruby Jean Jensen book, Wait and See. Oh, this cover. And it's so great too, because I literally turned around, because I did like one side and then I turned around. And like, it was just like this, like cover out. I was like, what the heck? So yeah, I'm so excited to have found this. I was just messaging Andrew and Kelsey, of course, because it's very exciting for me. I was like, I feel like a professional now that I found this. I've only read one Ruby Jean Jensen book. I believe it was The Mailman or something like that. And I did enjoy it, but something in that book happens at the end, and I wish it was like a little bit more throughout. And I think I read it for Kelly's book club, From Hell book club pick. But anyways, I am so excited. I also found some other stuff that's really golden. And the dude that runs the bookstore told me that there's another one of those bookstores that's a little further away. It's like more west. So yeah, I'm excited to check that out, as I've never been there and I didn't know there was another one. So possibly might be going back. Yeah, great prices at this place too. And I'd say it's like the cheapest store I've been to in a really long time, other than my local thrift store. But now they've switched over to only doing their bargains on the weekends, and I can't make it every weekend. I literally was racing a bookseller the other day to get there, because there's a lot of booksellers that go there too. I think this place, whew, crossed my heart, had not been discovered by a bookseller yet. So there's some fantastic stuff there though. But I was so excited, so I just had to pop in and share that I found this. And I guess I'll end the vlog here. I did have on Malignant in the background while I was doing some stuff earlier, and I just had to stop and like watch my favorite parts of that movie, because I absolutely love that movie. That movie is so fantastic. It's a fun rewatch. It's fun to just have on. It's ridiculous. It's so funny. My favorite parts, I think, is the ceiling part. That part is great. And the chair throwing part and the jail scene part, I think, is like fantastic. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, and the part where the sister drives her Prius right up to the edge of the cliff. Classic. Classic. I absolutely love that movie. That's how Escape the Readathon is going to end. It's just going to be me driving my Prius like really close to the edge. No, I'm just kidding. It ended on Malignant being an awesome movie, I guess. But I do want to thank Lexi from Books with Lexi for doing this readathon. It was very unique and fun, and honestly, like, I didn't know what was coming. Like, every day I'd get on Discord and I'd be like, I have no idea what's going to be happening here. Like, and that is so much fun. The anxiety, how thrilling it is. Like, I felt alive. It was amazing. I read a ton of books. I read some new favorites this month. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun sprinting and like talking to you guys. And go partiers. If you're on Team Partiers, you will be forever now. Right? We're forever partiers in this haunted house. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day and a great rest of the week. And let me know what your favorite read for Escape the Readathon was. And I hope you guys, yeah, have a great day. I already said that. What?